All right, Kaylee, here is your project 7 or your week 7 project, and you've written this in APA. It's very good. Now I appreciate your um, different, your more specific and creative introduction, or I mean your title. That's very good. The only thing it's lacking is it would have been better if you said something like analysis of an article, and then maybe like had that as the main title, and then a colon, and then this is the subtitle. That might have been a little better so that it would be clear that you were doing an analysis. But otherwise, it's very good. All right, so let's see. See how you did here. Most students deal with stress daily while balancing coursework, jobs, families, academic pressures begin to overlap. It becomes easy to forget how important it is to slow down, take care of yourself, of oneself. That's better. That's good. In the article, Take a Break, Nicole Pelusi, take a break should actually be in quotation marks and not italicized. Just a minor thing, but that's for your knowledge, for your knowledge, for the future reference. Okay, Pelusi 2010 discusses the importance of stress management during a time when conversations about mental and emotional health are beginning to grow, but were not yet as openly discussed as they are today. So good. There's some historical reference, and your audience is clear because you're talking right from the start about students, and your genre is clear because you talk about what you say she discusses, right? Reflects. Those verbs tell me you probably consider it to be an informational um, article. Topic is there. Purpose, I think, is there. Um, and the core idea, I think, is all there. So you got everything covered pretty well in that introduction. Very well done. Let's see what your thesis statement looks like. Written in 2010, the article reflects early efforts to promote balance and self-care, making it especially relevant for students who often feel overwhelmed by demanding schedules. Very nice. Good job. Now, let's see how you've written the body paragraph. So that's where we look for the details here and evidence. To begin with, Pelusi focuses on stress and explains why taking breaks is necessary for maintaining balance and overall well-being. Okay, so you start with the balance. Good. You're following the exemplar or the outline basically created by your thesis statement. So that's exactly what we look for. Awesome. Written in a short health piece that's simple and straightforward, which makes it accessible to students who may already feel mentally exhausted. Pelosi's 2010 purpose is to encourage readers. This is important. Good. All right. Um, Now, the only problem, I'm not seeing any citations. So you're referring to her article a lot, but you're not really telling me where everything is coming from in her article. In other words, all of these, all of these should be ending with a period or a parenthetical, like these parentheses here. It should be ending with a parentheses that has in it a page or paragraph number, because the way you've got it here, without anything at the end of the paragraph, the source citations, I can't tell really clearly where the citations end. In other words, the source material looks like this whole paragraph. To me, it looks like this whole paragraph is written by the source material, except for maybe this last sentence. And so that's something you want to be careful about. You want to make sure it's clear where your citations, your source integrations begin and end. Okay, so that your audience knows where they are versus where your voice is. That's very, very important. That's very, very important. Okay. Um, So you've done a good job with that part one. The problem is that you have lots of details, but you aren't, and you have evidence, but you're just not citing that evidence. Now that citations will show up down below, but the evidence and the details are there and they're strong. All right, part two, stress for parents. Now, um, this is supposed to actually, they're supposed to be here between the two parts there's supposed to be, according to the exemplar, there should be an actual introduction of the new audience, and you don't seem to have that. So your parents, of course, parents it's obvious that parents are your new audience, but the problem is you haven't introduced them at all. I'll move that up a little bit because you do actually mention the parents. You just haven't introduced them. You haven't talked about why they're different from the first audience and how you adapted to it and stuff. So let's see how you did with adapting this now. Parents often express balancing work, caregiving responsibility, house. Good. Okay. Your introduction's good. You're once again, you're basically doing the same thing you did in the previous one. You're providing lots of details. You're providing evidence backed up, that comes from her article, but you're not really quoting much. Like hardly anything is in quotes. Most of it is just your own, presumably your own paraphrasing. Should be a lot more quotes in there of stuff that she actually said in her own words, and you don't have really any of that. So really the issue breaks down to being the same thing as what it was in the first part, which is that you're covering things, you're just not, those are good, they're meets. Your writing style is fine. Conventions are fine. But the communication is clear. Well, a little lacking clarity simply because it's a little hard to tell where your source citations end. That's the biggest problem. Citations and attributions, I've got to take the points off for that just because it's not clear where your sources start and stop. Okay, but end up giving you still a good solid grade and a good, very close to an A. So you know what? I'm not seeing enough A's. I'm going to go ahead and give you a break and move this up just a little bit so that you can get an A. Simply because I want to have a few A's. So many of my students aren't getting A's because they're not really following the exemplar. But it seems like, but you've done a really good job overall here, and I feel like you deserve that. So actually, I'm going to keep this and I'm going to move this up to be more clear. That will give you that solid A without me, because I still this just has to stay low because you just did not properly cite the sources. Okay, but awesome job, Kaley. You've done a great job overall. Got a good low, but still an A, and an A is an A, right? So very nicely done. And if you have questions or anything, of course, just let me know. References here is all you needed. You could delete this word here, but otherwise this looks just fine. You might have tried to see if there was a URL and put that in here, but it's not a big deal. If that's not a terrible big deal. All right, that will do it for this video. If you have questions, let me know.